"You're being dramatic," my mother said, her voice loud enough for 12 family members to hear. We were standing in her living room, Easter Sunday. I'd just told my aunt that Mom had been borrowing money from me for 3 years. My mother turned to the room, tears already forming. She's always making things up, always has been, ever since she was a child. Then she looked directly at me. "Show me proof." I pulled out my phone. 10 years of text messages, bank transfers, voicemails, every lie she'd told, every dollar she'd taken, every time she'd called me crazy for remembering what actually happened. I held up the screen. What I showed in that room in the next 8 minutes didn't just expose my mother's lies. It broke a pattern that had been running for 29 years. And it all happened in front of the same people who'd spent my entire life believing her over me. Before I go on, please take a moment to like and subscribe, but only if you genuinely connect with this story. Drop your location and local time in the comments. I'd love to know where you're watching from. My name is Claire Donovan. I'm 29 years old, and this is not a revenge story. This is a story about the day I stopped letting someone else define my reality. Let me take you back to where this all started. I grew up in a yellow Cape Cod on Birchwood Avenue in Portland, Maine. 3 bedrooms, 1 bathroom, a porch that my father never finished painting. From the outside, we looked like every other family on the block. From the inside, well, that depends on who's telling the story. My mother, Patricia Donovan, had a gift. She could rewrite history while you were still living in it, and she did it so convincingly that even I started to question my own memory. I have one sister, Hannah, 2 years younger. Hannah learned early to just nod along with whatever Mom said. It was safer that way, less conflict. My father, Jim, worked offshore, oil rigs, 3 weeks gone, 1 week home. When he was around, he kept his head down, didn't want trouble. That left me alone with my mother most of the time, just the 2 of us. And Mom had rules, unspoken rules that changed depending on her mood. The kitchen table was where she performed best. Family dinners, holiday gatherings, casual coffee with neighbors. That's where she told her version of events. And her version was always different from what actually happened. When I was 14, I made the honor roll. Straight A's except for 1 B in gym. I brought the certificate home, excited. My mother glanced at it. "That's nice, Claire." Then she set it on the counter and forgot about it. 2 weeks later, at Thanksgiving dinner, my aunt asked how school was going. My mother jumped in before I could answer. "Oh, Claire's struggling this semester. We're working on it. She just doesn't apply herself." I looked at her, confused. "Mom, I made the honor roll." She smiled, that specific smile, sweet to everyone else, a warning to me. "Claire tends to exaggerate. She got mostly B's, which is fine, honey. Not everyone is academic." My aunt nodded sympathetically. I sat there, holding my fork, wondering if I'd imagined the report card. Later, I went to my room and pulled it from my backpack. Proof. It said honor roll. It listed my grades. I wasn't crazy. But my mother had already planted the seed. Claire exaggerates. Claire doesn't remember things correctly. Claire isn't reliable. It got worse after I turned 16. I got my driver's license. My mother borrowed my car constantly. Every time she'd promise to fill the tank, she never did. I'd mention it, she'd look at me like I was speaking gibberish. "I filled it yesterday, Claire. You must have driven more than you thought." I started keeping a notebook, logged every time I filled the tank, every time she borrowed the car. I showed her the records. She laughed. "You're tracking gas? That's obsessive, honey. You should talk to someone about this." She made me sound insane for documenting reality. When I was 17, money started disappearing from my wallet. $20 here, $40 there. I worked weekends at a coffee shop. That money mattered. I asked my mother if she'd seen it. "Claire, I don't take your money. Maybe you spent it and forgot." I started hiding my wallet. The money stopped disappearing. Confirmation. But when I mentioned this pattern to my father, my mother overheard. She cried, actually cried. My own daughter thinks I'm a thief after everything I've done for her? My father looked at me like I'd committed a crime. Apologize to your mother. I apologized for being right. Senior year, I got accepted to Maine. Good school, in-state tuition. I needed $18,000 a year after scholarships. My mother said we'd figure it out together. 2 weeks before move-in, she sat me down. "Claire, we can't afford it. You'll need to take out loans." I said, "Okay." I took out loans. I moved to campus in Orono, 3 hours from home. At Thanksgiving, my aunt asked how I was paying for school. My mother said, "We're covering most of it. That's what parents do," but Claire insisted on taking some loans to feel independent. That wasn't true. She wasn't covering anything. But my aunt smiled at her. "You're such a good mother, Patricia." I learned to stop correcting her, because every time I did, I became the problem. The difficult daughter. The one who couldn't remember things right. The one who was always making accusations. Freshman year, my mother started calling me more often. Not to ask how I was, to ask for things. "Can you send me $50? I'll pay you back next week. Can you cover my phone bill this month? Just this once." I was 18 years old, working part-time at the campus library, taking out loans for rent and tuition, but I sent her money. Because she was my mom. Because she said she needed help. Because she promised to pay me back. She never paid me back. By sophomore year, it was a pattern. $50 here, $100 there, $200 for her car insurance. She always had a reason. Always an emergency. Always temporary. I kept track. I had a spreadsheet. After 2 years, I'd sent her $4,300. I asked her about it once over winter break. "Mom, you said you'd pay me back. I need that money." She stared at me. "I don't know what you're talking about. I never asked you for money." I pulled up my bank records on my phone, showed her the transfers, dates, amounts, notes I'd written. December 15th, $50 for groceries. January 8th, $120 for your electric bill. She laughed. "Claire, those were gifts. I didn't ask you to send those. You offered." I hadn't offered. Every single time, she'd asked. But now she was rewriting it, making me the one with the faulty memory. I went back to campus furious, and I made a decision. From that moment on, I saved everything. Every text, every voicemail, every request, every promise to pay me back, every lie. Junior year, my mother asked for $500. "Emergency vet bill," she said. Her dog needed surgery. I sent it. Found out 3 weeks later from Hannah that they didn't have a dog anymore. He'd been rehomed 6 months earlier. I texted my mother. "You told me you needed $500 for the dog. Hannah says you don't have the dog." She called me immediately. "You're talking to Hannah about my private business? I'm disappointed in you, Claire. That money was for other bills. I simplified the explanation." Simplified. That's what she called lying now. Senior year, I stopped sending money. My mother's calls became less frequent, then hostile, then manipulative. "You've changed. You used to care about family. College has made you selfish." I graduated with a degree in accounting, got a job at a firm in Boston, moved into a studio apartment in Somerville, built a life 2 hours away from Portland. My mother told people I'd abandoned the family. I thought I was too good for them now, that I never called. I called every Sunday. She often didn't answer. For 5 years, this pattern continued. She'd ask for money. I'd say no. She'd tell family members I was cruel and selfish. They'd believe her because Patricia was the victim. Always the victim. I documented everything. 10 years of messages, requests for money, promises to pay back, stories that changed, lies about me to other family members that cousins would screenshot and send me. I have a cousin, Melissa, who stayed neutral. She'd forward me things. Claire, you should know what your mom is saying about you. I kept it all in a folder on my phone labeled Evidence, organized by year, by category, requests for money, lies about me, contradictions. I told myself I'd never use it, that I was just protecting myself, keeping a record in case I ever needed to prove I wasn't crazy. Then came Easter Sunday, this year, April. My mother called me a week before. We're doing Easter at my house. You should come. Hannah will be there, your aunts, your cousins. It's been too long. I hesitated. Every family gathering was a performance. But I missed Hannah. I missed my cousins. I said yes. I drove up from Boston that Sunday morning, arrived at 11 a.m. The house was full. My Aunt Susan, Aunt Linda, my Uncle Paul, 4 cousins, Hannah and her boyfriend, and my father, just back from a rig rotation. My mother hugged me at the door. "Claire, sweetheart, so glad you could make it." Everything was fine for the first hour, small talk, food, and normal family stuff. Then my Aunt Susan asked me about work. I told her about a recent promotion. My mother smiled tightly. Then my Aunt Linda said, "Patricia, you must be so proud, and I'm sure it's nice that Claire can help out now that she's doing well." My mother laughed lightly. "Oh, Claire doesn't help out. She's too busy with her own life." I looked at her. "That's not true. You know that's not true." My mother's expression shifted, subtle, a flash of warning. "Claire, let's not do this now." My Aunt Linda looked confused. "Do what?" I took a breath. I said, "Mom's been asking me for money for 10 years. I've given her thousands of dollars. She's never paid any of it back." The room went quiet. My mother stood up, her face flushed. "That is a lie. Why would you say something like that?" My Aunt Susan looked between us. "Patricia?" My mother's voice got louder. "She's making things up. She's always done this. Ever since she was young, she's had this tendency to fabricate stories." I felt my jaw tighten. "I'm not fabricating anything." My mother turned to face the entire room, tears in her eyes now, fully performing. "She's been like this for years, making accusations. She once accused me of taking money from her wallet in high school. She accused me of lying about her grades. She's always been this way." My Aunt Linda said quietly, "Claire, why would you make up something like that?" And there it was, the moment I'd lived my entire life. Everyone believed her. No one believes me. I pulled out my phone. My mother saw it. Her face changed, just for a second. Fear. Then she recovered. "What are you doing?" I said, "You asked for proof. I'm showing proof." I opened my photos. I'd prepared this before I came. I knew, somehow, that this moment might happen. I'd created a folder with screenshots, 10 years of messages, organized, dated, clear. I walked to where my aunts were sitting. I held up my phone. December 2018. Mom texted me asking for $200 for her car payment. I sent it. She said she'd pay me back in 2 weeks. I swiped to the next image. January 2019. She asked for $300 for the electric bill. Said it was an emergency. I kept swiping. My aunts leaned in, reading. My mother stood frozen across the room. March 2019, $150 for her phone bill. April 2019, $500 for a vet bill for a dog she'd already rehomed. I looked at my mother. June 2020, $400 for rent. You texted me, "I'll pay you back next month, I promise." You never did. My mother's voice cracked. "Those were gifts. I didn't ask for those." I swiped to another screenshot. Her own words. Claire, can you please send me $200? I'm short this month. I'll pay you back on Friday. My Aunt Susan took my phone. She scrolled. Her expression changed. She looked at my mother. Patricia, this says you asked for money multiple times. My mother sat down heavily. I don't remember it that way. I said, You never do. That's the problem. You rewrite everything, and you've made me out to be a liar my whole life, so no one would believe me when I told the truth. I pulled up more screenshots. Here's a message from 2021 where you told Aunt Linda, I never call me. Here's my call log showing I called you 12 times that month. You answered 3 times. I showed another image. Here's a text from 2022 where you told Hannah I refused to help with Christmas gifts. Here's the bank transfer showing I sent you $300 for Christmas that year. My cousin Melissa, the one who'd been forwarding me messages, spoke up. She told me last year that Claire had cut off the whole family, that Claire was too good for us now. I looked at Melissa. Did I cut you off? She shook her head. No, we've had lunch like 5 times this year. My mother was crying now. Real tears or performance tears, I couldn't tell anymore. You're all ganging up on me, in my own house on Easter. My father finally spoke. Patricia, are those messages real? My mother looked at him. I may have asked for help a few times, but Claire is blowing this out of proportion. She's always been dramatic. I pulled up one more screenshot, the most recent one, from 2 weeks ago. Mom, you texted me last month. You said, I never asked you for money. You're remembering wrong. You've always had a problem with reality. I held the phone up. I have 10 years of proof that you did ask, over and over, and every time I brought it up, you told me I was remembering wrong. You told everyone I was a liar. You made me question my own memory. My Aunt Susan stood up. She looked at my mother. Patricia, this is serious. Why would you tell everyone Claire was lying if you knew it was true? My mother didn't answer. My Aunt Linda said quietly, You told me Claire was mentally unstable. You said she needed help. You made me worried about her. I felt something break open inside me. You told people I was mentally unstable? My mother looked down. I was concerned about you, the way you were acting. I laughed, actually laughed. I was acting like someone who was being gaslit by her own mother. Hannah spoke for the first time. Mom, you told me Claire was making up stories about you, that she'd always been jealous and difficult. I looked at my sister. Did you believe her? Hannah looked ashamed. I'm sorry. My father stood up. He walked over to me. He took my phone from my hand. He scrolled through the messages. His face got older with each swipe. He looked at my mother. Patricia, you told me Claire was being dramatic, that she was exaggerating, that she'd always had an overactive imagination. My mother didn't respond. My father kept scrolling. She has receipts, dates, amounts, your exact words. You asked her $8,000 over 10 years, and you told everyone she was lying about it. The room was completely silent. My father handed me back my phone. He looked at me. I'm sorry. I should have believed you. I should have asked more questions. My Aunt Susan said, Patricia, I think you need to be honest with everyone right now. My mother stood up. I don't have to sit here and be attacked in my own house. This is ridiculous. Claire has always. I cut her off. No, you don't get to do that anymore. You don't get to rewrite this. Not in front of witnesses, not when I have proof. My mother grabbed her purse. I'm leaving. When you all come to your senses and realize she manipulated you, I'll be at Linda's house. She walked out, slammed the door. The house was silent for a full minute. Then my Aunt Susan looked at me. Claire, honey, I am so sorry. I believed her. Every time she said you were difficult or dramatic, I believed her. My Aunt Linda started crying. I thought you'd cut us off. Patricia made it sound like you wanted nothing to do with the family. My cousin Melissa said, she did the same thing to everyone, made herself the victim, made you the villain. Hannah came over and hugged me. I should have questioned her more. I should have stood up for you. I'm sorry. I stood in my mother's living room, surrounded by family members who were finally seeing the truth, not because I'd screamed or made accusations, but because I'd shown them proof. Undeniable, documented, time-stamped proof. My father sat down at the kitchen table. He looked exhausted. Claire, I failed you. I let this go on because it was easier than confronting your mother. I'm sorry. I sat down across from him. Why didn't you believe me? All those years, why didn't anyone believe me? He shook his head. Because your mother is convincing, and because it's easier to believe the victim than to question the accuser. She was always the one crying, always the one hurt. You were always calm, too calm. We thought that meant you were fine. But I wasn't fine. I'd spent 29 years thinking I was crazy, thinking my memory was broken, thinking I was the problem. The rest of Easter was strange. We didn't eat the meal my mother had prepared. My Aunt Susan ordered pizza. We sat around talking, really talking, for the first time in years. Hannah told me she'd noticed things too. Small inconsistencies in Mom's stories, but she'd never said anything because she was afraid of being labeled the difficult one. My cousin Melissa showed me screenshots she'd been keeping, messages where my mother talked about me. None of them was true. My father called my mother 3 times. She didn't answer. Finally, she texted him, "I'll be home tomorrow. I need space." I drove back to Boston that evening, exhausted, but lighter, like I'd been carrying something heavy for 29 years and finally set it down. My mother didn't speak to me for 2 months. Then she sent an email. Not an apology. An explanation. She said she'd been under a lot of stress, that I'd misunderstood her intentions, that she never meant to hurt me. She still wasn't admitting she lied. She was just reframing it. Again. I didn't respond. My Aunt Susan called me the next week. Your mother is telling people that you ambushed her, that you planned this attack, that you're trying to turn the family against her. I said, I didn't ambush her. I responded to her calling me a liar in front of everyone. There's a difference. My aunt paused. I know, and everyone else knows too. We're not falling for it this time. That was 3 months ago. Here's where everyone is now. My mother still lives in the yellow house on Birchwood Avenue. She goes to church, she has coffee with a few friends, but family gatherings are different now. People don't automatically believe her stories. They ask questions, they verify. She hasn't apologized. I don't expect her to. Some people would rather lose a daughter than admit they were wrong. My father and I talk once a week, Sunday evenings. He's trying. It's not enough, but it's something. He started asking me how I am, actually listening to the answer. Hannah and I have dinner once a month. She's in therapy now, working through her own realization that our childhood wasn't normal. We're building a relationship that isn't based on Mom's narrative. My aunts check in regularly. They've apologized multiple times. They've made an effort to actually know me, not the version my mother created. And me? I sleep better now. I don't question my memory anymore. I don't second-guess what I know happened. I keep the evidence folder on my phone, not because I think I'll need it again, but because it's proof that I'm not crazy, that my reality is real. If you're watching this and you have a parent who rewrites history, who makes you question your own memory, who tells everyone you're a liar when you're telling the truth, I see you. You're not crazy. You're not dramatic. You're not the problem. Document everything. Save the texts, record the conversations where it's legal, keep the receipts. Not for revenge, for yourself, so that when you start to question whether you're remembering correctly, you have proof. My mother spent 29 years controlling the narrative. Claire's a dramatic, Claire's a liar, Claire can't be trusted. She was wrong about everything, except one thing. I can't be trusted to stay silent anymore. I'm Claire Donovan. I'm 29 years old. I showed up to Easter dinner with 10 years of text messages and broke a pattern that had been running my entire life. That's enough. If Claire's story reminded you of your own, I'd love to hear from you in the comments. Have you dealt with a parent who gaslights? And if someone you know needs to hear this, share it with them. Sometimes the story you needed is the one someone else needed to send you. Thank you for listening. Take care of yourself.